Hey, this is Gavin Palmer with Hero Looking for Group, bringing you John Vervaeke and his 4 Ps and his 4 ways of knowing, brought to you by Convective Heat Engine, the way to provide clean water to everyone on Earth, providing the opportunity for things like peace on Earth. Let's start this out. Let's go, John.
But since then, we have reduced knowing to the point where we have identified it with one kind of knowing. And this is propositional knowing. Propositional knowing is, and the vehicle of propositional knowing is a proposition, of course. And propositional knowing is knowing that something is the case, and that is the content of a proposition, which is variously understood as some kind of fact. For example, I know that cats are mammals. There we go. That's propositional knowing. And what does propositional knowing result in? It results in beliefs. And if those beliefs have been acquired by good inferential practice and evidenced well, then I come to have a theory. And then what's the normative phenomenology? What's my experience of having good propositional knowledge by having a good theory? Well, I get a sense of conviction of truth. I get a sense of truth. That's the way in which propositions, that's the way in which I'm being told by my brain body that my propositions are picking up on reality. I get a sense of truth. But notice something. In order to do propositions, I actually have to know how to propose. I have to know how to question. I have to know how to adaptively seek for relevant information from the environment. My propositional knowledge is actually dependent on my knowing how to do many things. This is called procedural knowledge. It's knowing how to do something. And the content of procedural knowing is not it's not a fact, it's an interaction with the world, a sensory motor interaction with the world. Procedural knowing doesn't result in belief in theory, it results in skills. And when those skills are developed well so that they have reliable applicability, then what we have is expertise. And then the phenomenological normativity of that is not a sense of truth. When I have expertise, I have a sense of power. I'm empowered by my expertise. I have a sense of power. And that's how I sense realness in procedural knowledge. I don't sense it as truth. I sense it as power. And power is a big way in which we evaluate if things are real to us. But notice, if I'm going to use or acquire a skill, I need situational awareness. I need to be aware of my situation. What skill should I be applying here? Should I be applying my swimming skill right now? I'm a pretty good swimmer. Should I do it? No, it's not. And here's the key word. It's not relevant or appropriate. It's not adaptively fitted to the context that I'm in. I need a situational awareness in order to know which skills to apply and which skills to acquire. I need to know what it's like to be here now in this state of mind. This is called perspectival knowing. This is knowing what it's like to be here now in this state of mind. So you're experiencing a particular here nowness from a particular state of mind. And what that means is you're doing salience landscaping. Salience is how things stand out. What's happening is things are constantly shifting in how they're standing out to you, and what's foregrounded and backgrounded. And what you're doing with all of that shifting, salience landscaping and sizing up, is you're trying to get an optimal, what Merleau-Ponty called an optimal grip on some particular aspect of your environment so you can interact with it well. That's what situational awareness is. That's what perspectival knowing is. Perspectival knowing, obviously, the vehicle of that is not a proposition, right? It's a perspective. We talk about having perspectives, but more accurately, you're constantly enacted and embedded within a perspective. So Perspectival knowing gives me states of mind that result in, and if it's going well, I get optimal grip. What's the sense of realness within perspectival knowing? It's not a sense of truth. It's not a sense of power. I'm working with Dan Chiappi on this, and with scientists who are using the rovers on Mars and people in video games. Virtual reality, notice the word virtual reality, gives us an ongoing experimental arena in which we can figure out what it is people are seeking when they want a sense of realness within perspectival knowing. And this is the term that people come up with again and again and again. It's a sense of presence. It's a sense that the world, I'm present in that world, and that world is present to me. I'm embedded. And this is the next thing, the embedded aspect of the 4 E's, right? I'm embedded in it. I'm perspectively embedded. It's present to me, and I'm present to it in that optimal grip. Okay. But if I'm going to have situational awareness, you know what I need for that? I need situations. What's a situation? We use these terms all the time, but what's a situation? What's the way things are situated? What does that mean? Well, I propose to you that what we're talking about when we're talking about a situation is we're talking about good coupling. Remember, I've talked about this meta coupling. A situation is when the organism and the environment are coupled together in the right way. They're situated with respect to each other so that they can come to be co-present to each other. This takes us to the deepest level of knowing, I would argue, which I call participatory knowing. This is not knowing that, or knowing how, or knowing what it is like. This is knowing by being. This is knowing by being a particular kind of agent in a particular kind of arena. And there is only an agent and an arena if they are appropriately coupled together. How do they get coupled together? Well, they get coupled together, and you can examine this at many different levels of timescales of analysis. At the evolutionary level, there are biological processes, a process called niche construction, by which the environment is shaping organisms and organisms are shaping the environment until they mutually shape. And it's the mutual shaping that causes the coupling that makes situations come into existence. You're mutually shaped by the biology at an evolutionary timescale, but you're also being shaped at a historical timescale by culture. Through the use of tools, we shape the environment, look around you, to fit you, but you also shape you. Look at my glasses, look at my clothes, to fit my environment. There's a mutual shaping between me and the environment that is brought about by culture. And of course, there's already something we've talked about. There's the online mutual shaping that's going on in the sensory motor loop. Watch them all come together. See, okay? I can grasp this because there has been a long process of niche construction so that through speciations, developed this thing, the famous opposable thumb, and all that other stuff, so that I can grasp tools. And then culture did this really interesting thing. It shaped matter and then trained me so that I can drink from a mug. You can't initially drink from a mug. Give one to a 5-month-old. It's okay? So, right? And then I have my sensory motor loop that's giving me the optimal grip, no pun intended, or maybe a pun intended, so that I can actually grasp this mug and take a drink from it.
So that was good, and I hope you enjoyed it. That was the best explanation of the 4 P's that I've come across. You have the propositional, you have the procedural, which is the vehicle for the propositional. You have the perspectival, which is the vehicle for the procedural, and you have the participatory. They're all embedded in each other. But what you don't have, John Vervaeke is not pointing it out, is you don't have a study of the propositional. Like within the propositional, there are the categories that are useful and useless. And notice how that's connected to participatory. So procedural, perspectival, those are part of the participatory. And then the propositional that is useful is connected to the participatory. And so be on the lookout for useful and useless knowledge. And that's different for different people at different points along their path. The thing that I'm doing now is a summary of a longer interaction or participating that I did, and I will point at this unlisted video in the description to this video. And basically what I'm trying to encourage is an investigation of a way of being where we seek the ideal and try to become neighbors, where we love God, love yourself, and love your neighbors. And so, what is a neighbor? A neighbor is someone who wants the ideal. Who is your neighbor? Someone who wants the ideal for you, and someone who is willing to listen and understand. And so the thing that John Vervaeke didn't talk about was the participatory of grabbing that mug and throwing it across the room and hitting a target. That's the planning. And so I would say the proposal is what we should be doing is planning. We should be learning and planning and participating in order to identify neighbors and identify the way of cooperation. We identify our neighbors, our ideal neighbors. We identify the ideals and the ideal way of participating in the world. That's what we should be doing, and that's what I talk about in a little bit more detail, which may or may not be coherent to you, but I invite you to go check it out, where we can answer or investigate, or at least propose these questions, these problems of attempting to identify and become the ideal. And I'll leave you with I'll leave that link below. This is a picture of me wearing a mask in response to Paul wearing a mask. So, yeah, the doctor laughed when he saw the mask. I had to MacGyver the materials from the trunk of my car back in 2020. And this was me in the elevator. So, I hope you enjoyed that. And I'll catch you on the other side. Thanks for your time and attention. Let me know if you like this introductory public video connected to a unlisted video that is the extended version of this. All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.